Hello, my dear friends. Today, I want to welcome you back to this space where we can learn more about living a life that is pleasing to God. Today's topic is on anger. I decided to choose this topic because it is something which we all have experienced ourselves, or we have seen others in that state. And anger is not something which we want to be associated with. However, unintentionally, most of the times we find ourselves caught in anger, and I have been one of that person who often would regret about the things that I have said or done in my state of anger. And so, based on my own little experience, along with the lessons I have learned from reading through the stories of others, of how ugly and how terrible it is to do anything or say anything when one is in a state of anger, that had encouraged me to speak on this. And also the other reason for speaking on this is, if I would hear my fellow friends speaking on this topic based on their own experiences or based on the things that they have learned and sharing their perspectives on anger, it would definitely help me a lot to navigate through that challenges much better. So, thinking about all of this, I decided to do the same today, and I hope that you will not take this as a lecture or teaching, but this will be like a one-on-one discussion that we have, or like an informal or casual chat and talk which we have with our friends. And so please consider me as one of your friend who is simply sharing her perspective and her desire to be able to control the emotions of anger. Proverbs chapter 29 verse 11, it says, "A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back." And there is another quotation by Lawrence J. Peter: "Speak when you are angry, and you will make the best speech you will ever regret." And I also have written a poem: "Do not let anger make you forget your values. Stay calm, stay gentle. You don't win in life by being angry, even when you are right. Avoid anger at all costs. Stand up for your needs, but don't let anger drive your words or actions." Because whatever comes out of a person in the heat of anger always ends in regret. And remember, regret doesn't only come when you are wrong. It visits even when you are right. Why? Because a wise person would have chosen a better way, not because they weren't angry, but because they knew how to control it for their own good. If you love yourself, don't speak or act in anger. Treat anger as your enemy, because it really is. So the lines of this poem is really very clear in its own words. I do not have to elaborate it again. I was inspired to write this down based on my little experience which I had. I will not go into the details of that, but one of my experience somewhere led me to think twice about what I have spoken, how I have behaved, and process all those experiences. And later on, it made me feel really terrible, and I didn't like that feeling at all. I regretted so much for the way I have behaved or carried myself in that situation. After that, I thought to myself, no, I cannot let it control me. I will have to sit down, let me quiet myself, let me slow myself down and think through and try to figure out certain ways to handle such unexpected or unwanted experiences in a much better way. When I think about that, I sat down and it encouraged me to write these things down. The experiences we have had in relation to anger could have been different. However, if you have gone through any situation that you were so angry and you spoke certain words, do certain things in anger, yet deep down inside of you, you don't feel good. You don't feel right about what you have said or done. When you are convicted with such feeling, with such thoughts, please don't dismiss it, but sit down, think about what Jesus would do, or what Jesus taught us to do, and let the Word of God be the judge, and don't look at your friends or the world as to how they behave in times of anger, and don't justify your anger. It's really wrong for any one of us to justify our anger. It's not only when we are wrong that we should not justify our anger, but even if when we are right, there are much better ways for us to respond even in times of anger. A foolish person respond hastily, so quick to speak, so quick to react. They behave like a mad person when they are angry. But a wise person, in spite of all the same feeling that they have inside of them, they still know how to keep themselves under control. They know how to hold themselves back. I think we need to really learn to tell ourselves in those moments to stay calm, to stay gentle, and to remember to choose to be a wise person and not choose the way of the foolish person, which doesn't align with the values that we stand for. We are not perfect, and we are all human. We make mistakes. That is completely understandable. However, it is not right for us to justify our acts done in anger, words spoken in anger. And the right thing for us to do is, in the times when we are convicted for the things we have done or said in anger, is to come to God, ask for forgiveness, and ask for His strength and wisdom, and let His Word teach us and not the standards of men. If you love yourself, learn to treat anger as your enemy, because anger only ruins you. And so let us remember really well to treat anger as our enemy, and learn to be kind and loving to ourselves by not giving in to our anger. And when we do that, first of all, we are the first one who benefits from that. And secondly, there are onlookers, there are observers who will be richly blessed, directly and indirectly blessed by the examples that we set. Considering this as a really important matter which we deal with in our day-to-day life, I decided to take up this topic so that we all can learn from one another. And if you have anything to share from your own experience, I would love to see your comments in the comment section below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. God bless you richly. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.